So will the insurrection and its aftermath have any impact on the battlefield in Ukraine? For its part, Kyiv says it is making gains on the ground. Let's bring in our Nick Paton-Walsh for some perspective on the war post attempted insurrection. Nick, thank you so much for being with us. So we know that the Wagner Group has been instrumental in the war in Ukraine, particularly in and around Bakhmut. The Wagner Group has been told to hand over their heavy weapons to the Ukraine, to the Russian army. Just explain to us how that changes the dynamic on the battlefield going forward.
Yeah, I mean, we are still in very early days as to how this extraordinary chaos is going to impact Russia on the front lines. But be in no doubt, Wagner have been the most effective fighters that the Russians have had over the winter, certainly spearheading the fight for Bakhmut, being in no doubt too. Brutal, savage, often at times deeply inhumane fighters too. But it does appear that they will be stepping back, and according to Prigozhin, a very small number of them will in fact join the Ministry of Defense. They may all move to Belarus. That is still something to be worked out. And we simply don't know where Wagner fighters are and how obedient they are with this apparent deal that their leader has indeed struck. But is this as yet changing the nature of the fight on the Ukrainian front lines? Well, it's unclear. Here's what we know.
Unprecedented chaos in Moscow has yet to ease Ukraine's bitter fight in the trenches. Close combat around Bakhmut, 2 weeks into the continued grind of the counter-offensive open operations, filmed over the weekend, just as Wagner troops roll towards Moscow. Here, the red, white and blue are Russians in disarray and surrendering. The hope is more will follow as word spreads of the failed rebellion and morale and discipline falter. It was near here Ukraine proclaimed Monday progress on the front lines, with room for hope elsewhere. To the south, on another Donetsk front near the heavily contested Marinka, it appears some Kremlin-loyal Chechen fighters were pulled to Moscow for its defence at the weekend. Here, they are strutting along an apparent highway near the capital. Bakhmut and Marinka, opportunities for Ukraine in the east, but also further west near Kherson, the Antonivsky Bridge, the scene of intense clashes, captured by this Russian drone as Ukrainian forces claimed to cross over to the Russian-controlled eastern bank, opening another front perhaps. It is too early to tell whether or if Russia is crumbling, and Ukraine's progress has been incremental still. This, the familiar scene when their fighters declared they'd captured another small village in the south, Rivnopil, on Monday. None of this yet, the strategic sea change and Russian collapse, the weekend's madness that Zelensky, visiting troops in the east Monday as well, will hope follows. He faces anxious choices, even with all the Kremlin's intimate ugliness so exposed. Move now, or wait for more in Moscow to unravel. He must be sure to make no mistakes of his own or interrupt the torrent of them in Moscow.
Now, Ukraine's push through this entire counter-offensive has essentially been to wear down Russian front lines and perhaps find a place where they can break through and really force Moscow to make difficult decisions about where its priorities on the front line are. Now, they may be hoping to expedite that moment, knowing fully well that in Moscow there's utter chaos, frankly, at the moment, and a top brass who are barely clinging on to their jobs. And so an important moment perhaps for Ukraine to seize upon, but these things do take time. You can't suddenly, in a matter of hours, redeploy tens of thousands of troops in a different direction. But be in no doubt, I am sure that even though many Russian troops on the front lines do not have smartphones, cell phones, the news of this chaos will be trickling through slowly in the days and weeks ahead. And my gosh, you can imagine the effect that's going to have on morale, let alone strategy. So expect some changes. We just have no idea what timetable they'll follow.
Yeah, it's still early days. As you point out, Nick Paton-Walsh live for us there. Thank you so much.